We need an order.
Oh no, we're not doing an order. No, why would I do my job? Ladies and gentlemen, variations thereof, welcome to the Selectives Lorecast, a casual Elder Scrolls podcast. My name is Rotten Deadite, and I'm a fucking idiot.
These things happen.
Today we're talking about Hircine, and I dragged along two people to help me talk about a Daedric Prince I really know criminally little about. With me today are...
I am James, also known as Aramithius.
And I'm Andrew, also known as the White Guar.
Yep, and these are the two people who showed up. Both of these two guys, right here. And we may or may not have people coming in late. Fuck it. Yep. Hi, Mojo. Oh my God, it's Chris Franzen. Oh my God, it's Chris Franzen.
Hey, dude. Fangirling over.
Yes, absolutely fangirling.
Yeah.
No, he's in the chat. Yeah. He should get in here, but no.
We were actually I mistakenly thought we were going to do Jigleg today, Franzen, and then somebody corrected me on how the alphabet works, and so now we're doing Hircine.
Hey.
So let me hold on a second. Let me do my research here, which is to say, let me change to a different page in UESP.
Yeah.
There we go. So so here's what I know as a not Hircine related scholar. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have internet. How?
For those of you listening on the podcast, Mojo has just declared I don't have internet while in a Twitch stream.
How do you? Are you dream sleeving this shit? Are you like plugged into a Sphinx Moth Inquiry tree? Is that what's going on? Well done. You do a very good impression of a person who has internet.
Yeah.
He's projecting himself sideways into the tubes.
Right, exactly. Yeah. Internet in the middle of nowhere is a myth. Oh, so you don't have much internet, is what you're saying. You have minimum internet. Yeah, I know what you mean by that. Yeah. Well, I've worked for companies that were situated out in the middle of nowhere, and yeah, there's no internet out there. I'm sorry, I'm getting distracted because my good buddy is in chat. So here's what I know about Hircine. I'm going to literally tell you all of it. Hircine's that god that shows up during that werewolf quest, and he has horns.
Yay!
Yay! That's it. That's all I fucking know.
That's not a lot of people actually seem to know that much about him, to be fair. So that kind of fits. Mm-hmm. He's you read some of the books, and what was his name? Mehrunes Dagon, whichever. Yep. The big famous daedrologist.
Mm-hmm.
In the book On Oblivion, he's actually not even sure that Hircine is a Daedric Prince. So,
that sounds interesting. What does he think? What is he speculating about?
He's just trying to find him. He can't track Hircine down. He's trying to. Has heard these ridiculously powerful Daedric entity, but
Did you see what you just did right there? He can't track Hircine down. Of course he can't. It's Hircine.
No. Yes.
Why would you be able to track the master of the Great Hunt?
This is true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think I would not be exaggerating if I was to say that Hircine has a relevant status in the Bosmer Pantheon.
Yes, he does.
Mm-hmm.
Now, okay. So it's fairer to say that Ifer has a prominent status to the Bosmer, but Hircine, the line between Hircine and Ifre, to me, is a little blurry, and that's because the things that Ifre does are, in my mind, of a ignorant person about the subject, blends a lot with Hircine's idiom, with Hircine's realm.
Yep. I would say that they're opposites more than anything else. And we're getting stodgy connections. Deep joy. But whereas Ifri is imposing order and wanting to make the Bosmer attain some sort of fixed form, Hircine is the father of man beasts and lycanthropes, and is all about changing the shapes and being. I don't know if it's about being optimal really, or just change, or I don't know whether it's changing for circumstance or what you would call it for lycanthropy and werewolves as to quite what you'd call it. But Hircine is about embracing that change, whereas Ifri is very much no, the change is bad. The ooze that came before is bad. Therefore, I will impose order. And so Hircine is, to me at least, almost kind of another side of the Bosmer faith coin. It's like what would happen if you took Zoroastrianism and you had a bunch of cults of Ahriman.
Okay, explain what that is to the people who have no idea what the fuck you just said.
Yeah, fair enough. The Zoroastrianism is a I don't really know what the term is for it. It's a much more dualistic faith than Christianity, in that you have Ahura Mazda or Zoroaster, who is the good god, who is embodied by fire and order and various other things, and then you have Ahriman, who is the bad cosmic principle of chaos. But they're not. It's not that Ahura Mazda is always going to win. So there is a battle, there is an actual battle going on, whereas with Christianity it's a foregone conclusion, because Yahweh and Christ have always won, the devil will always lose, right. That sort of thing. So if Hircine does have that sort of a place in the Bosmer Pantheon, then it's a relationship of equals and potentially a choice depending on how the society of the Bosmer go, I guess. I don't think we have any real evidence of Bosmer Hircine cults ever being dominant, though, is my only thought. I haven't seen anything to suggest that. I think there's a bunch of Bosmer Hircine worshippers in ESO that you have to kind of subdue or something, that have some kind of rituals about subverting the wild hunt. Which makes perfect sense for trying to get people to become werewolves and embrace the father of man beasts. But I don't know that he ever really achieved prominence amongst the Bosmer at large. I don't know if we've got enough evidence for that.
I think it's worth pointing out that Hircine has the wild hunt, but the Bosmer also have a thing called the Wild Hunt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, connection or
sort of. Well, the Wild Hunt for the Bosmer is very much like a, we've been pushed so far for one reason or another. Either our nature has pushed us, or the universe has aligned in such a way so that our energies have been pushed, or something. But it's an overload state. Which, if I recall, can't they do it on purpose? Doesn't it take like an act of Congress?
Yeah,
but they can do it on purpose. But
they can perform some kind of ritual.
Yeah.
And so just when they're really pissed off.
Yeah. And so they go absolutely apeshit and start changing into all kinds of weird, crazy forms. And the connection that has with Hircine's Great Hunt. Is that, well, I mean, Hircine's Great Hunt, if I recall correctly, happens on a schedule, right? Doesn't it?
Yeah, the Bloodmoon prophecy.
Okay, great. Okay, good. So I'm not fucking wrong.
No. What? I was going to say, what is the schedule? Because there is something to do with the alignments of the blood moons, as Nexus was saying, but I don't know how common that is. I don't know.
It's been so long since I played it. Nexus, do you remember?
It typically happens once an era, and
another one of those.
Yeah, but man, how long's an era?
Yeah.
So once an era, which could be, actually, when they say once an era, they might not be literally talking about eras. They might mean like once in a blue moon. It might be a turn of phrase, once in a
red moon.
Fair enough. Yeah. And once in a great while, you'll get the Great Hunt. But I don't think. It's a great setting for a Monster Hunter game. Sure. Every other week on Thursday. No, it's Oscar. It's a daily. It's one of those daily quests that you do to grind up Hircine rep, so you can unlock the Hircine cosmetic sets. Because Daddy's been playing a lot of World of Warcraft, so.
Fair enough.
So the connection between the Great Hunt and the Wild Hunt is, I mean, it's obviously they're both called hunts, not much more than that. But the fact that they are both a mainstay of the culture is relevant, and that they are both acts of outward facing aggression is also relevant. So what I would suggest is that the connection is a cultural connection, but it's not they did not inherit each other or anything like that. I just think they express similar emotions.
Yeah, well, I mean, I looked it up for a second, and it looked like, I mean, in ESO, there's an example of Bosmer turning to Hircine in order to start the Wild Hunt.
Yeah, that's what I'm half remembering.
So I mean, it seems like that's. I mean, I like what you were saying, James, about the dualism of the Bosmeri Pantheon and you know how they work with that. But I almost feel like it's the same kind of way that the Dunmer work with the House of Troubles.
Okay.
Yes, they're bad, but they're necessary.
Mm-hmm.
In that you know that they help us in an indirect way. So that Hircine could do the same thing with Bosmer.
I'm not 100% on that because it's well, it depends on quite how you take the House of Troubles, I guess. But in order for the Bosmer to turn to Hircine, and to an extent the Wild Hunt, in the Bosmeri sense, they're forsaking everything that they are. They're forsaking the gift of Ifri, which is form, which is self-identity, to become something else. Whereas, which is just it's fundamentally to deny your existence if you're doing that. So it's the biggest blasphemy for a Bosmer, as for my reading of a Bosmer worshipping Hircine. But if you look at the Wild Hunt from Hircine's perspective and werewolfism, lycanthropy, and the Great Hunt, the whole shebang with the hapless quarry and the whole process with the Spear of Bitter Mercy and all that. That's a very ritualized apex of what Hircine is about. So it's approaching the same point from different directions, as far as I'm concerned. Because of the way that the different value sets work. Hircine is about becoming a predator and expressing the hunt, whereas for the Bosmer they need to they use it as a sense of survival. It's not hunt as ritual as the Hircine Wild Hunt is. It's hunt purely for the purposes of survival.
And it's you know, but I mean, the way that phrase that you use, it's not hunt as ritual. One of the drawbacks of hunt as ritual is that it loses its well, no, that's probably not fair to say either. I was gonna say that it loses its survival origins, its origins in helping a group of individuals or a large group of people survive, have food to eat, etc., etc. But I don't think that that's necessarily true, because the hunt as ritual, any given ritual also performs a very similar role, but for the culture. Does that make sense? I'm totally improving this shit right now. This is a thought I literally just had.
I'm not sure it's survival in the sense of reproduction for a culture, if I can put it that way. Ritual is cultural self-expression and cultural reinforcement. So societies do rituals to define what they are and how they relate to things.
Right.
So in order for a culture to stay as a culture, then rituals need to have the same meaning.
Yeah,
the instant ritual meanings change and rituals get forgotten, you have a slightly different culture.
Yeah, and if you don't repeat the rituals, then they can be forgotten, and then things just ain't the same since we stopped worshiping Hircine. You know, it's just.
Yeah,
you know. I tell you, that's why they got all that gay marriage, is because we ain't worshiping Hircine no more. That's what it is.
And then I was going to go with that far more innocent idea of the trope of, well, we've been doing this for ages and we don't know why we do it anymore, and then all of a sudden the big bad that the thing was designed to prevent comes back. That there's no end of fantasy stories that use that trope.
Yeah. The old man in the town who's waving his old staff, going, you know, the end times are near because you stopped worshiping Hircine. And oh, shut up. Yeah, and then there it is. And then Hircine comes back.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you get. Point is, folks, you know, be superstitious is what I'm trying to say. It can only help. You never know.
Horseshoes and rabbit's feet, you know, why not?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
And that's actually, by the way, not to derail heavily, but superstition in Elder Scrolls, every once in a while, somebody, NPC in ESO will mention superstition, and it like rubs me the wrong way, because I don't think there is such a thing in ESO.
No.
You know, I think you could have a very dismissive person just say, "Oh, well, that's superstition," but I don't even think they should even understand what that word would mean. I don't think there should be a word for superstition in ESO in the Elder Scrolls.
Like in real life, I mean, a superstition is what some adherence to some impractical or supernatural idea. So like, oh yeah, you walk under a ladder, it's bad luck. Well,
yep.
How do we know that? Like, isn't that just confirmation bias? Everything bad that happens after that is because you walked under that ladder.
Although I think part of it with ESO is that we as players and as protagonists get to see gods and demons and all sorts on a very regular basis.
Exactly.
For your average Tamrielic citizen, who goes to the temple, goes to the priests and all this, that, and the other, and doesn't really have any other association with the supernatural unless you're in the middle of the plane meld, then superstitions could quite happily come up, simply because the Earthbones carry on being the Earthbones.
Sort of. I'll put it this way. I think Captain pointed out something that I was just thinking, which is that the supernatural is perfectly natural in the Elder Scrolls universe, and that's, I think, if there was a concept that resembled what we call superstition in the Elder Scrolls universe, I would hypothesize that it would be something like that practice doesn't yield results. Like, that would be what the word would mean, is the act of worship or routine or whatever that you're doing right now does not yield results, so it's purposeless. It doesn't, you're wasting your time.
I can see some old lady telling her grandson or whatever, don't say Hermaeus Mora's name 3 times or he'll steal you back to Apocrypha.
Yeah.
And
people roll their eyes and go, "No, Mom, the Hermaeus Mora is not gonna, that's not gonna happen because we've got the liminal barrier prevents that, and blah blah blah." And
yeah. But I mean, I imagine those kinds of things, which would be a sort of superstition.
It would be like, 5G causes COVID. No, it doesn't. No, it fucking doesn't. 5G causes cancer. It doesn't cause COVID.
Yeah. So I mean, I guess I wouldn't say there's no superstition. I would say the superstition is much less prevalent because the things that we would apply superstition to here in the real don't necessarily apply.
Yeah.
In Tamriel.
Yeah. To use the example of like walking under a bridge. My internet connection is fine. Shut your front door. God damn it, Zoom. To use the example previously of walking under a ladder causes, bad luck, or breaking a mirror is 7 years bad luck or something. That's. I mean, I'll put it to you this way. This is a even less ridiculous thing to say. Either there's very little or no acts that are considered superstitious in the Elder Scrolls universe, or there's shitloads of it. there's just tons and tons and tons of things that we would call superstitious, like don't break a mirror or you'll get 7 years bad luck. But in the Elder Scrolls universe, because crazy shit happens all the time, I could honestly see a situation where culturally people start developing this fucking hyper paranoia of like, oh, don't if you stammer on a word 3 times, then Molag Bal will eat your dick in the middle of the night, you know, or something, you know.
Yeah, and Hircine actually plays into that a fair bit, because one of Lady Cinnabar's texts talks about on the prevalence of Daedra worship in general. And she's saying, well, hunters will say a prayer to Hircine as they string their bow, sort of thing. He's one of those much more practical Daedric princes in some senses. So long as you're not the one being hunted, and you're the hunter, then Hircine is absolutely someone who you can trust and would want to invoke. Exactly how much influence Hircine has to influence those sorts of things, I'm not totally sure, because Daedra be Daedra.
Yeah, Daedra be Daedra. Yeah.
But he's one of those that appeals on a practical level, and particularly with
he's called a dick eater. Yeah, it's a problem.
Yep.
Those Nibonese dick eaters. Yeah.
Yeah. But Hircine is one of those gods that is more utilitarian, which I find is more interesting. Because why is Hircine necessarily a Daedra? Because thinking back to one of the comments that I'm fairly certain that MK said on the Lorkhan episode of this, that you look at the divines and they're not particular, and quite a few of them aren't particularly what you would think of as primitive gods, so to speak. There's no obvious anthropological evolution, whereas Hircine, you totally expect that, and you see that.
Yeah, Hircine's a great example.
Yeah.
A Daedric god of actual madness, not cheese LOL madness, but actual madness, makes a lot of sense. So, you know, yeah, I agree 100%. It's in fact, that comment that he makes on the Lorkhan cast has stuck with me over the years, and I've mentioned it many times in previous casts that it's interesting from a world building perspective to think about gods as primitive forces, but it's even more interesting to me to think about gods as primitive forces in a setting where you have a division between primary primitive forces and secondary derivative primitive forces, you know, in a sort of like an I Ching kind of like division system of you know, you get 8, hypothetically rebuilding the Elder Scrolls universe as I do every week. You have 8 primitive gods that form the gift limbs that allow the universe to behave, or allow the dimension of Mundus to behave in a predictable way, in the way that it's designed to work. And then you have 16 subsets of Daedra that you can then combine, like the I Ching of like, well, you've got one Adric Lord, Adric Dragon of Time, you've got an Adric Devil of Linear Space. What do you get when you do like linear time plus linear space? What's that Daedra called? Right? Not asking for a suggestion, because that's a fucking crazy question, but like that's like that's what I'm talking about, right? And so then you just go around the rim and you combine each of these Daedra together into their various combinations, and you create 64 possible combinations of Daedra of 64 combinations of Daedra to get 64 Daedric princes, right? Good luck doing that for a fucking homework assignment. You get to try that. Imagine Todd Howard gives you that assignment at Bethesda. you got 24 hours to come up with 64 functioning gods that make sense.
Yep.
Hi, Greg. Yeah, I got a question for you.
Yeah, right.
and then there's also, just to complicate matters, aspects of those different gods, of which Hircine has a fair few. Just different expressions of stuff, the various stuff, and how it's interpreted in different stuff, or even just Hircine's one of those that it's complex, that when you go back to how the societies that worship Hircine as a matter of course, they'll have a whole bunch of different ways of referring to him. It's almost like that marvelous little falsehood of the Eskimos having 1,000 words for snow. But but you've got the Reachmen have 5 different aspects for Hircine, just simply for the different types of hunt and different things that they do. So he's a flexible god.
It's all that yoga. Yeah. What I find interesting about, so I mean, I've mentioned this. I think we did a Reachman cast.
Yep.
If we didn't, then we probably could.
No,
but I know that if we did, I would have mentioned the connection between the Reachman ritual of Briarheart replacement and the reenactment of Lorkhan's murder, and considering the fact that they apparently learned how to do this from Hircine, or learned how to do this from the the Glenmoral witches, who in some way learned how to do it in a connection with Hircine. Hircine is connected to this ritual, is what I'm trying to get at. What I kind of wanted to ask is there a line that we can draw between the Lorkhanic message, or like the essence of what Lorkhan is, of like freedom and self-sacrifice and self-immolation, if you like, and so on, and Hircine? So, like, for example, in the way that real life hunt gods or hunt rituals happen, there's the prey, and then there's a hunter, and the prey is considered a sacrifice that is then offered to the purpose of this ritual, which is either the worship of a god or just the survival of the people, or etc. You know. And I would suggest that that's the connection between Hircine and Lorkhan, that, or at least in my head, which is that Hircine is the embodiment of the hunt that Lorkhan and Trinimac participated in. Trinimac hunting Lorkhan. See? And so that is the so what Hircine and the Hircine's role in the Briarheart ritual is enabling the ritual performers to sacrifice their warrior's heart, like Lorkhan arguably sacrificed his own heart, or didn't.
Yeah.
Again, depending on who you ask.
Yeah. I'm just trying to check through the stages of the Wild Hunt. There's a brilliant text from Battlespire that lays the whole process out in detail. And
didn't know that.
Yeah. It's about all the different Daedra that are involved. When it's the proper full-on ritual, like Hircine is behind and urging the hounds on, sort of thing.
The Wild Hunt, or not the Wild Hunt, the Great Hunt.
The Great Hunt. Yeah. Okay. It's literally got stage 1, the drag; stage 2, the chase; stage 3, the call; stage 4, the view. And which is in which the huntsman makes the kill with the ritual Spear of Bitter Mercy and calls upon the master of the hunt to view the kill by ringing the town bell.
Is Whoopi Goldberg involved in that 4th part? I couldn't help myself.
Yeah. But that's why I'm kind of thinking about it as freedom as such. I mean, there's a lot of Hircine worshippers that associate it with freedom. You look at how What's-Her-Face from the Companions thinks about it. She's all about Hircine worship because it means freedom to her, and staying a werewolf because it means freedom. But the pure version of Hircine is quite set in its ways. I'm not sure that there's necessarily a link between it and between it and Lorkhan. It's I'm just literally just scanning through, because the stuff about the quarry is probably where you're going to find it. But it's also a thing about acknowledging the plight of the quarry, that Hircine is kind of seeing the hunt as an ecosystem almost. That it's a process you go through, and I think, as you said earlier, it's about honoring the sacrifice that is the quarry, and being part of that.
You said you're having some trouble making a connection between Lorkhan and Hircine. And I mean, I would suggest that it's kind of an indirect connection, with Ifre being an analog of Anu and Hircine being an analog of Padme, and then getting to Lorkhan that way. Which, I mean, it's a bit of a stretch, I think, but I mean that's what comes to mind.
Well, any more of a stretch than my connection between Lorkhan and Trinimac.
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think that's probably a bit more, a bit more of a definite connection, because there's talk about like the huntsman, master, and the hounds. They're all sworn to honor. They have particular practices they have to do, and conditions that have to be met.
All the hound has to do is all the fox, has to do is flee. That it's the only obligation.
And be given a chance to escape. Yeah, there's always a chance, however slim.
Ritual of the Innocent Quarry. Yeah.
And there is
hypodronic. Yeah, okay, got it. That there's actually in the Ritual of the Innocent Quarry. If you just, I mean, I'm sorry Ziegler isn't here, but then if you, it's just the innocent sacrifice. It's Jesus as the lamb. It's it's all similar stuff. So,
but there's also
the virgin sacrifice.
To just take your line for Lorkhan and Trinimac a bit further, now it's just occurred to me. There's a bit in the posting of the hunt which I think I probably should read out. There's like the ritual pits the all-powerful huntsmen and their greater and lesser dogs against the pitiful and doomed innocent quarry, called by tradition the hare, after the mortal creatures of human hunts. At once, the huntsman is transported by the exquisite thrill and glory of his might and dominion over his helpless prey, and at the same time, touched by the tragic, noble, and ultimately futile plight of the innocent quarry. In the highest aesthetic realization of the ritual, the ecstatic rapture of the kill is balanced by the huntsman's identification with the sadness and the despair of the innocent quarry. So
you have to identify with your prey, or you don't. Yeah. This is ancient cultures would also, effectively pray to their prey before or just after killing it. They honored it, thanked it for its sacrifice, etc. And, what? The father of Nirni's first litter, who were as changeable as the moons. They say these children were chosen as a vessel. Oh. Interesting.
That is actually a reference to the forest people of LFA, whom the Khajiit are created from by Zora.
Okay, so Hircine is somehow in some way involved in that process then, or are we?
Am I understanding that incorrectly?
Yeah, that feels about right. Although Nirni's first litter, Nirni's first litter, not Fadamai's first litter, which is the Aedra.
Nirni's first litter would be the first races on Nirn, right?
Give me a second to check.
Again, Ziegler, it'd be nice if you were here.
Yes.
I mean, don't the Argonians predate them?
Well, this is according to Khajiit, creation myths. Yeah. So, and I mean, if Argonians show up in anyone's creation myth, it kind of cheeses me off. So I like Argonians as aliens. That's my thing, my jam. Yep. I like it when that happens.
Yeah. Oh, Nirni's children are in effect the Elnathay. And Fadamai said, when Nirni is filled with her children, take one of them and change them, make them the fastest, cleverest, most beautiful people, and call them Khajiit.
Yeah. So the wandering Elnathay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, you have the ancestors and you have the us and the not us, the A and the they. Yeah.
Yep. Which is, if Hircine is involved with that, and they're chosen as the chosen vessels of the Jackaday, or if Hircine is involved with the creation of the Elnafey and the instability that involves, because why do the Wanderers wander? If we're going to say that, if we're going back to primitive society, hunter gatherers are your typical wanderers.
Yeah, but that's not really the wandering Elnafey don't wander because they're hunting. They wander because they want more. They're restless and they're not happy.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. The more I think about it, the more I think of like the wandering Elnafey weren't wandering to begin with. They were just somewhere else. You know.
Yes. Well, that's the Anuad. The wanderers were dispersed across all the different continents. So.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, like, artifacts of Hircine are pretty predictable. I mean, Spear of Bitter Mercy, Spear of the Hunter, you see where we're headed with this. Savior's Hide, of course it's hide. Of course it is.
Yes. Well, it didn't save someone's hide, clearly.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And don't apologize. I apologize for not hitting the rim shot special effect fast enough.
Something I kind of want to point it out. I've always seen Hircine as one of the more fair Daedra.
Yeah.
He's always true to his word. I've found. If you best his hunters, he goes, "Hey, good job. How about you join my hunters, and then you can do some hunting." Yeah. And it'll be great. And I mean, he's I can't think of a single time where he's. I mean, honor seems to be a big thing for him. There's an honor to the hunt. There's an honor to the prey. He respects both the hunter and the prey. And so, I mean, if the hunter wins, great. That's what he expected. If the prey escapes the hunter, then hey, good job, dude. You've earned your life.
Good on you. Yeah.
Go, get on you, mate.
Well, because it's also usually against overwhelming odds that the prey is.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I don't see him as evil per se. I mean, if I had to put it in D&D terms, I mean, he's more like a lawful neutral kind of.
Right. Yeah.
I'd say he's a true great prince.
A little bit, like in. Well, I mean, I'll put it to you this way: if you. No, the more I think about it, the more I think lawful neutral kind of makes sense. He sets up the rules, and then when things happen, that's just how it happens, and it doesn't care either way.
It's the law of the jungle,
right? Yeah.
And something else I wanted to bring up is I like to think about how different princes overlap with other Atala. And so for Hircine, I kind of imagine that he overlaps with people like Mephala or Dibella in a way that, the same way that a white-tailed deer would go into the rut, like they just go and they look for does, right? Oh, I'm gonna go and I'm gonna get. It's not a pleasure thing.
Done. Yeah.
It's just an animal instinct, and so that's. I mean, I associate that with Hircine. It's
There's not a lot of self-doubt and self-awareness happening there. It's
very primal, and I mean, you ever seen two dogs doing it? I mean, they're like, oh, we don't know what we're doing, like, whatever, man.
Yeah.
So like, am I wrong there in thinking that that's something that would be attributed to Hircine? I mean, I think of that song "Hungry Like the Wolf."
Well, it's definitely not mindless. I mean,
no.
Shit, I had a family of deer in my neighbor's backyard this morning. pissed my dogs off to no end. You have no idea. And they're just wandering through, and I walked out and fussed at my dogs for barking their heads off at 7:30 a.m. And one of those deer, I think the oldest one, a doe, looked at me dead in the fucking eye for a second, just went, and then went right the fuck back to what she was doing. Knew full well I was there, and was just like, oh, it's another one of these apes. And then just went right back to doing what they were doing.
Like they go, okay, are you a threat? Are you a threat? Well, he's not moving. He's not. Yeah. I don't know. He's
wearing a robe
away.
and slippers.
Okay.
All not a threat.
I'm just gonna go back to chewing on my dandelions or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, exactly. They were there's I would probably call it a natural deer path that has been interrupted by assholes' fences like mine, and they just jump the damn fences. They don't give a shit. They just jump them, and then wander around and crap in my backyard and freak my dogs out. And yeah, exactly. What are you gonna do about it? I'm in somebody else's yard. You can't even hop the fence to fuck with me. So. I respect property laws, do you? Let's see. Totems of Hircine, I don't know, whatever. Yeah. I'm literally going down the list in UESP right now.
Did we discuss the 5 aspects of Hircine?
Not in any great depth.
Not at all, no.
Oh,
well, a little bit, but not much.
Yeah.
Are you volunteering?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. I'll probably butcher these pronunciations, but I'll do it anyway.
No worse than we've done, so go for it.
Oh, yeah.
So there's 5 of them, and the first one is Alra Beg, the Hunter. And it's basically, I guess you could say, Hircine himself materializing on Nern.
Okay.
Because the only depiction we have of Alra Beg is actually Hircine himself. And then there's a Stora Beg. I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly, but whatever. The wolf aspect of Hircine, and he is known by the man beast, the skin changer, and the wolf aspect.
Mm-hmm.
And basically his role is when he goes to Nern, he hunts with other werewolves, so that's pretty obvious. And then you have my favorite aspect, Urakenbeg, the great dark stag. And this is the stag aspect of Hircine, and basically when this one comes to Nern, he has sex with hinds, and on occasion he may transform a mortal into one and then mate with it, which I think is kind of funny.
That sounds very Zeusy.
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
Yeah,
that seemed like some shit that Zeus do.
Yeah.
And then the last 2 I don't care for. It's Gulabeg and Harakibeg, the fox and the bear.
Mm-hmm. The fox being a trickster god, according to what I'm reading.
Yes.
Yeah, trickster.
And
which,
then
the
bear being a strength and solitude, peace from labors, and the renewal of the burning spirit within.
Yeah, it's all different aspects of the hunt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think how many of these
are connections to Lorkhan.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, because the fox is Shore, and Shore is an aspect of Lorkhan. So.
Following is a transcribed statement of a shaman of Druadak, for the Druadak Mountains in Skyrim. That's what I was about. I was like, is this? This sounds Nordic. So yeah, it's Skyrim.
Yeah, this is where all those ideas come from. It's these are, well, I always assumed it was the Reach.
Yeah, well, it is. It's actually occupied by Reachmen. Ever since the first era. So yeah, it sounds like exactly that. Sense. Yeah, so this is probably Reachman lore, what we're reading right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the 5 aspects are known to be associated with the Reach clans.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Does do each of the clans take an aspect as their mascot, so to speak? Does that happen? I can't actually.
I'm not sure if they take one as an aspect, but they're known to style their weapons in armor in honor of the aspects.
Yeah. But yeah, that those kind of that totality of the 5, it's different types of hunts and in some ways, the danger of the hunt itself, because you having a hunter god embodied by a stag. I mean, stags don't hunt much apart from grass. Although you have that sort of a ritual thing, what you were saying about deers rutting and so on, that takes place at specific locations where you have those herds. There are rutting grounds that you can track. So the natural order has those kind of ritualistic elements, which Hircine would kind of tie into. So there is that element where they kind of cross over, I suppose, which I managed to entirely miss earlier.
The stag is apex prey? What do you mean by that, Captain? As in it's the prey of apex predators?
It's prey that can take you.
That's true. You don't want to get kicked by a stag. That's wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would think a moose would be more.
Oh yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean,
these things are big as houses.
It's not quite as archetypal, but which kind of makes me think actually that do we see Welwers considered in the same way in Moorish culture, because they're effectively the same sort of thing. I can't remember them. I know there's some sort of Welwer Preservation Society in Somerset or something. They were being wiped out, but I don't think they're treated in quite the same way. I think Indrix pretty much usurped that whole thing pretty much entirely, because they are basically stags with glitter. But yeah.
Yeah.
So
plus, a moose bit my sister once. No, really. All right.
Okay.
I can do the credits in an accent. What? I don't.
Yeah, true.
Well, let's see.
So we talked about his artifacts, right? We talked about his artifacts, about Spear of Bidding Mercy and
a little bit.
And the Sager's Hide.
Okay, so the Ring of Hircine, let's just get this out of the way. It's a game mechanic.
Oh yeah. Yep.
It's just a game mechanic.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So the Spear of the Hunter, pretty obvious.
Funnily enough, the Spear of Bitter Mercy was not considered a Hircine artifact in Morrowind.
Forged by Mehrunes Dagon. And actually, you get it from...
You get it from Sheogorath.
Sheogorath, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, because he says that he talks about killing the insane. It's a bitter mercy, but a mercy nonetheless. Or something along those lines. And then that's you got to get the Fork of Horpulation, kill the giant niche, and all
that. Have we actually seen that the Daedric artifacts get passed around to quite that extent? Why is the spear associated with so many princes?
Well, with Dagon, there's actually some speculation that Hircine might be allied with Dagon.
Oh, speculate more.
And the reason for that is because in Morrowind, well, rather ESO, you can find shrines to Hircine and old Dagon. What do you call it?
Oh, dang.
You can find statues to Hircine in places where Dagon used to be worshipped by the Chimera. And according to Battlespire lore, Hircine was actually a lieutenant of Dagon.
Oh, so that might actually explain why Xenas doesn't consider him a prince.
Yeah. But rather just a Daedroth who got a little uppity.
Yeah. Or does that then mean that... What does that mean for the 16 then? Because...
Well, it's not that it's not that Xenos didn't consider Hircine a Daedric Prince. He was just unfamiliar with Hircine.
Well, maybe, but also don't worry about 16. The number is 2. There wouldn't be 16 Daedric Princes. There'd be shed loads of them or none. It's all explanation. It's the only reason why we keep throwing around eight Aedra for that matter is because Vivek suggests that's how many Aedra there are, but even that's not dependable. I mean, you ask any culture what an Aedra is, and you get different lists. So and different numbers of Aedra. So it, 8, 16. Don't fucking put too much stock in it. And in fact, that's my original suggestion about doing an I Ching kind of like thing with like 8 Aedra and 64 Daedra. Even that doesn't hold up because I can only represent one culture. So that means Todd Howard gets you to do that one day, and then the next day you get to do it again for a completely different culture. You get through all the cultures, and you're officially a professional writer.
Hey.
Your internet's dumping a little bit there, Chris.
Yeah, I'm dropping frames like nobody's fucking business.
There's
Yep.
Wow.
It says I got buffering in chat.
Yeah.
Got lots of Fs.
Going back to the ring of Hircine, according to Daggerfall lore, it extends your life longer than than it should.
Oh, because of course it does. It's a big important ring.
Yeah.
It gives to you unnatural long life. Yeah. Spot the references there.
Oh, there's your bingo there. Shit.
Yeah, sorry. That just struck me as it's just far too.
A couple of wood elves beating the shit out of each other for it.
Yeah.
What else?
Yeah, I just dropped a shitload of frames. So, can you guys see me at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I can hear you. I can see you. You sound fine.
For how long
everything went red.
Yeah. For how long that's to be determined, but we'll see.
AT&T. Who can say?
So I was late to this, but did we discuss which Tamrielic pantheons Hircine has a role in yet?
Not explicitly.
No,
yeah, I don't think we listed them off, but he's in a lot. Yeah.
And the thing is, he doesn't change a whole lot between them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have the Reachmen.
He's usually just Hircine.
You have the Khajiit, you have the Nords, you have the Bosmer.
Yes. What role does he play with for the Nords?
A bunch. The aspects of Hircine we just listed off, those were Nord. Yeah. Those are Nordic.
Yeah, the whole. Especially the Skaal.
The Skaal think he's a bad guy. They don't like his ass much.
Yeah, big time. Big time with the Skaal too. Because when Hircine hosts his Blood Moon prophecies, he does it on Solstorm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
The Dunmer don't seem to care.
It's a Daedra.
The Altmer, I don't think they.
Altmer probably ignore him. Refuse to admit that he exists.
Yep. No,
I mean, the Orsimer is a foregone conclusion.
Yeah.
Yep.
Is it Chernimac? No, we don't care.
I mean, I guess there's some Bretons who could. I mean, just some Reach influence, but I mean, I don't think specifically the Bretons have any particular.
Yeah, but the three biggest ones are Khajiit, Nords, and Bosmer. And you could actually make the argument that those three in particular are Hircine's favored races.
Yeah, hunters.
Yeah.
Well,
makes sense. I mean, Hircine's not going to favor anybody who doesn't pay attention to him.
And Reachman, obviously.
Yeah. Oscar is asking the question: Is Hircine the adversary for the Skaal?
No, I don't think so.
That's Ald.
Maybe.
Because the was it the Allfather? That's Shore, and Ald is.
Well, if I was gonna speculate that the Skaal had a single adversary and that it wasn't actually an amalgamation of multiple gods, I would actually speculate that it was Hermaeus Mora. for two reasons. The first being the events in the Skyrim expansion.
I get this from Jonathan, and if he were here, he would educate us.
Yeah.
Because he's done a lot of research into this, and I think a lot of it comes from the seven fights.
Yes.
But yeah. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, I think just looking at it, the story of Avar Stonesinger, the adversary is a syncretic thing. Because just quote here that they forgot or chose not to remember that the adversary is always watching and that he delights in tormenting the Maker and his chosen people. And so it was that the adversary came to be among the Skaal. The adversary has many aspects. He appears in the unholy beasts.
There you go. Yeah, that's a little bit of Hircine. Yeah,
and the incurable plague.
Could be
At the end of the seasons, we will know him as Thartag, the World Devourer. Alduin.
Right.
But in these ages, he came to be known as the Greedy Man. So there's a whole heap that you can bring to the adversary.
As we argued 2 weeks ago, the Greedy Man could be Hermaeus Mora.
Hermaeus Mora.
So, and also there was also that probably Nord creation myth that we read out that I suggested, cast Hermaeus Mora as being a major adversary in in Nordic culture. But the idea that there is a single adversary kind of just makes sense for the Skald, because they seem to think there's a single Allmaker as well, that there's a one god, and that there's therefore also a one devil. Just seems to be that seems to be how they get down.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's
connection between Hircine and Vile. Horns, actually, Johnny, the interesting thing about horns is that depending on what real world culture you're referencing when you talk about horns, they can represent all kinds of different shit.
Yep.
That's actually a oh, is it bingo? Yay! All right. Is it illegal bingo? Okay, now everybody's gonna get into an argument. Okay. So the trick with the thing about horns is that I've actually at one point or other spent a lot of time researching horns in various cultures, doing like a comparative mythology kind of thing about horns, and I got so fucking lost. There was so much, and there was a lot of stuff that seemed like it was heading somewhere and then didn't. It felt like there was some consistency, and then all of a sudden, especially when it came to like Hindu mythology, the horns meant like 11 different things depending on whose god they were on. And so I kind of threw up my hands, but also I was doing all of my research entirely on the internet, so it's not like I was getting really great resources either. So that probably didn't help either. But if anybody out there is interested in doing research into the things like the symbolism of horns in various cultures and religions, it's worth looking into. There's a lot of material out there, and you will reach some very interesting conclusions about various artwork that you see all over the internet and in real life and the Elder Scrolls. So, congratulations, Doherty. One illegal bingo equals one ban. See, he's already drunk with power, Doc.
I think there should have already been a bingo because we did mention Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, one thing for Hircine, for Hircine and horns, though I think just a quick skim of the Imperial Library and so on, it doesn't seem to equate horns with the hunter. It's horns are trophies, by the look of it. So I'm not sure quite what you can make out of that, but horns are things that prey have and that are taken from you. I don't know if that keys into anything more generally, but that's the impression I get from Hircine. Simply because horns and antlers that get that sort of association. Yeah, and I don't think that the connection with Vile is really anything else beyond that. because again, Vile keys into different things. He's got Mephistophelian horns, as far as I'm concerned. They're not.
Yeah,
they're not quite the right thing.
Well, it's the Mephistophelian horns are. No, wait.
They're rams.
I don't remember. What do they symbolize again?
I think that. I think it's just the appropriation of forest gods or so on from Christianity. It's just devils and demons are always horned. If you look at it, so
because they represent like an older religion, the fears of an older religion.
Yeah. I think Pan is probably the most obvious lift for those things.
Okay.
But
that would make sense with the hooves and everything as well. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's referencing a darker ancient religion that people are afraid of for no reason at all, and then right.
Well, they've got a reason to be afraid of it. It's competition, but
fair. Yeah.
But
it's off brand.
Yeah, but I don't think that the same types of horns happen between Vile and Hircine in any way. I don't think there's an overlap there. And Johnny's mentioning about Vile having a werewolf-themed axe. That's not something I know about.
The rueful axe.
Oh right, yeah.
Okay.
I have to look it up.
That's again. That's going back to Bitter Mercy in its themes. It's kind of if you want Is it in Skyrim that the rueful axe pretty much only appears? But because
in Skyrim,
Oh yeah. Okay. So it was given to a guy who begged Clavicus Vile to help him cure his daughter of lycanthropy.
Yeah.
So,
he gave him the axe and said, "Here's a cure." Which sounds made up, to be honest with you. I don't think.
I can actually kind of imagine the conversation that happened between those two. With Labastion going up to a shrine to Vile, and he's like, "Hey, my daughter's a werewolf. Can you give me a cure?" And then Vile's like, "Sure, here you go." And then he's like, "Wait, what's this? It's a cure."
Although that's actually something I wanted to talk about in terms of Hircine as well, because in some of the games, I think ESO is the main culprit here. But you go to Hircine worshippers, you go to the Glamori witches to get a cure for lycanthropy. Why would Hircine want it cured? Why would Hircine worshippers want it cured?
Well, they may not want it cured, but they might know how.
Or
but it's not like you approach them at sword point and saying, "Tell me or I kill you." That's not the process.
Oh, okay.
I mean, beliefs can change, right? You can be a worshiper of Hircine, and then you're a werewolf, and then like, I actually kind of fucking hate this. Every time I take a bath, I smell like a wet dog. And,
very, very convenient. Very inconvenient every time there's a full moon.
I hate my steaks rare, but I just can't help myself.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, I guess I'm gonna go have to find a witch's coven and get them to make me a draught that will change me back into whatever piece of shit I was before.
And
to a standard piece of shit.
Yeah. Going back to that whole Clavicus Vile conversation, in Daggerfall, Vile actually mentions that Hircine and his werebeasts are actually on friendly terms with him and his followers.
This connection's getting stronger by the second. There's got to be something going on here. Is this in well?
Sorry,
I was gonna say
I missed part of that. Was that Clavicus Vile?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I was going to suggest that maybe this is like something that wasn't intentionally done. Like maybe they weren't like threading connections together in previous games, but then the ESO devs kind of picked up on it and were like, "Let's run with this." But I'm still like, I mean, these are hard to deny. That it's hard to say that this isn't a trend, but I can't for the life of me understand the point.
What do you think the odds are of getting Schick in one of these?
Oh, speaking of Schick, actually, 4 years ago, he said that there's actually a demi-prince of fishing under Hircine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Isn't there also a demi-prince of like baked goods or something?
There's a
Yeah,
Daedric god of minor inconveniences.
Yes, absolutely.
But I think what are the odds of getting Chicken on one of these things? I don't think he discusses ESO lore anymore. I don't think that's his thing.
I mean, he discusses some stuff with me, or he discussed some stuff with me, but
yeah.
it was more behind the scenes.
Yeah, but
I'll reach out. I'll see. I mean, fuck it. I'd like to bring him in on something that I think he'd find meaty, but yeah. Sure, can't hurt.
But yeah, what sort of things can we link up with Vile? What, because unless you go along the lines of lycanthropy as gift and wishes and pacts and that, I'm reaching to try and find a connection.
Yeah, they haven't really expanded much on it.
Yeah,
and I haven't seen anything in ESO either, because the only connection they've made in ESO is Hircine's relationship with Dagon.
Okay. That's not something I've picked up on.
We got some freezing issues.
Yeah, I'm seeing the freezing issue too.
Yeah.
I'm dropping frames again.
Yeah. What sort of connections can we make with Hircine and Dagon then? Unless we're talking about destruction as part of the natural order, on that sort of thematic level.
I guess you could say that because Hircine's primal, he's very primitive. I guess you could sort of tie that in with Dagon's fear of destruction.
Both are kind of agents of anarchy, aren't they?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, because the thing with Mehrunes Dagon is, okay, you overthrow the current government, you abolish it, and well, then what happens? Well, then there's a new organization, and now you got to destroy that too, and it's just a constant cycle with Mehrunes Dagon. And I mean, that's where his bit of hope comes in. He hopes that something will come along that's better.
Could the lycanthrope represent the hunter? And that's the powerful part of the hunter-prey dynamic. Like a werewolf is the combination of a human hunter and a wolf prey?
Yeah.
Yeah,
see, I don't think of wolves as prey.
No.
Neither do I. I think of them as hunters.
Yes.
I mean, you could think of it as this. You hunt at night, and then you're hunted during the day by local authorities.
That's pretty good.
That could be. Because I mean, I think Hircine will take werewolves and be like, okay, you're going to be like a supreme hunter now. He doesn't have to make a supreme prey, because everything is supreme prey until it proves itself to be a hunter. It's after effect, right? I mean, you don't have to lower things to make them prey. Everything's already low. Oh, there's a rabbit. Go get it. Like,
do you think? Go ahead. Do it.
I'm not gonna pin it down for you, because that eliminates the point of the hunt.
Yeah.
You know.
I'm gonna reboot my router after this.
Yeah.
I'm starting to get very irritated.
Yeah.
I do like that hunter by night, prey by day. That's interesting.
And going back to that whole hunter at night thing, in the Infernal City novel, when they're in the hunting grounds, they actually mention that Hircine and his beasts don't appear until after nightfall.
Oh, see, yeah, there you go. Yeah. Starting to make a lot more sense.
So that could be almost a I mean, that could be a cyclical.
Yeah,
just like the Great Hunt is supposed to be cyclical. Yeah, it's the same thing.
Yeah, that could also be something to do with why the witches will help you cure it. That there's a time to be a werewolf, and there's a time not to be. Just depending on the phases of the moon or whatever it is. Whatever they use to determine it.
Yeah, pretty good. Pretty good.
Is there anything we've missed?
No, we've covered that. We've covered everything, and plus, and we've already hit an hour. So
we talked about symbolism of like the horns.
Yeah.
Did we talk about the hunting grounds?
Not.
I mean, what's there to say about it, really?
Yeah.
Well, what is there to say about it?
It's a huge, endless forest.
Yes.
Yeah. Big endless forest, and the
Oh,
ethereal
and
horns.
ESO actually shows that there is some civilization in the hunting grounds as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, there almost has to be, right? Because if you're if Hircine and his huntsmen only appear at night, then you've got to have that replicated. Well, that if you have that replicating predator-prey dynamic, then you've got to have something that happens during the day to hunt the hunters, to make that cycle carry on.
Mm-hmm.
And in ESO, during the Mart of Sacrifices dungeon, you actually come across a Nordic village while you're there.
Yeah, that's right.
Why Nordic though? Well, it doesn't have to be the only one there.
Yeah.
I
think you would find Nordic, Khajiit, Reachman, and Bosmer there.
And Bosmer, yeah, I agree.
Something that just occurred to me that I don't know if there's something we can delve into for a couple minutes. Hircine's appearance and how he manifests himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's always kind of a muscular, kind of hairy dude with a loincloth, but his head is usually one of a couple things. It's either a deer skull with the antlers, like that's how we see him in Morrowind, or in March of Sacrifices, we see him as a big towering man with just a whole deer head with like flashing eyeballs and stuff. And so, I mean, I don't know if there's some reason that he would go for one look over the other. I mean, I was thinking about it in the shower today, that maybe it's like a time-based thing, that the deer head is actually decaying. And so by the time we see it in the third era, it's already just decayed to nothing. But I mean, that was just a flight of fancy.
Look at who's just fucking showed up.
Who showed up? You. Well, you can.
Hello.
Hi, the Afro guy.
I was wondering when Felix would come in too.
Yeah,
Literally just wrapping it up, and Felix is like, "I'll pop in."
Well, okay, it's just been a hell of a day. But I wanted to make good on my promise that I would be here, because I'm pretty sure I said I'm going to be there. So okay, I'm assuming we probably talked about everything. Did we talk about why Jigalag is actually shit?
So welcome to the Hircine cast, Felix.
We got it wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're actually doing Hircine today.
I wasn't sure if you were making a joke about the fact that we were.
No, because it was like the jiggle cast.
Yeah.
That was.
Because I thought, wait a second, does that mean I missed the Hircine cast? What the fuck? I didn't get a notification for that.
When the hell did that happen?
That's a damn shame.
No,
one of my favorites.
It happened. We stopped streaming on Twitch and we started streaming on YouTube, because I heard Dr. Disrespect was on YouTube now, and I was like, well, if the doc's going to YouTube, I'm gonna follow the 2-time, and that was all the but no.
Yeah, no, I showed up like 3 minutes before we started recording, and I was like, well, alphabetically, shouldn't we be doing here?
Yeah.
And Chris was like, shit, you're right. I don't know the alphabet.
Yeah.
All right.
Any thoughts on Hircine, Felix?
I mean, yes, I actually had a shit ton, but I guess it's too late for that now.
Run through it and we'll talk about whether or not we mentioned it already.
Rapid fire.
Let's go.
Okay, so Hircine is actually one of my favorites, because he was the first Daedric Prince I really got into, thanks to the Blood Moon expansion in the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. And I really like that one, because, Canada, Souls Time, hunting, good shit like that. But I also really liked it, and I could be misinterpreting things here, but I really liked Hircine and the aspect of the hunt, because it's not just about hunting beasts. It's about pursuing things. It's about pursuing goals. Yeah. So, you know, at the time when I first saw this, I really wanted to be a pilot, you know? So it's, okay, what steps do I need to do to be a pilot? What do I need to do to prepare? And surviving out in the wilderness on like bush weekends with the cadet organization. So in many ways, I appreciated Hircine for that. And then as I got more into lore and the games and everything else, I started wondering if there might be a bit more to him. Because as we see with, who are they? The companions in Skyrim, and how they're like, oh yes, we're also werewolves, and yet their leader, Kodlak, I think, Kodlak Whitemane, is like, oh no, I want to go to Sovngarde. Not, you know, these hunting grounds. And that makes you wonder, like, I wonder how many people have buyer's remorse in terms of going to Hircine's hunting grounds. B, is Hircine considered a good Daedra in the eyes of the Bosmer?
Covered both of those.
Well, I'll have to watch that later.
Yeah.
God damn it!
Although that's an interesting the parallels between Sovngarde and the hunting grounds. Sovngarde is feasting and fighting.
Feasting and drinking.
It's just
preparation.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
And then the hunting grounds is hunting things and killing or being hunted and being killed and presumably eating your prey. So is there that much of a difference?
So I'm just going to throw in my 2 cents about the hunting grounds. And this is going to be fast, but the hunting grounds is meant to be a paradise for Hircine's followers. Like most Lycans are supposed to be dreaming of going there.
Yep.
Just running naked through the forest, eating all the dead squirrels I can find.
That could actually...
What if they're the same place?
Oh, you mean what if the hunting grounds and Sovngarde are the same place?
We've already made connections between Shore, Lorkhan, and Hircine.
And it does affect the moon.
Yeah, Secunda.
Yeah.
That's true. Because Sovngarde used to be on the moon before it got put wherever the hell it is in Skyrim.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
Shit.
That's actually a question. Why is... We haven't actually answered at all. I mean, the out-of-universe reason is because werewolves... But can we make a connection between Hircine and the moons in terms of the lore? Because
Secunda turns into the blood moon.
Well, I mean, blood moon. We got that full moon equals werewolf. In just I mean that's just traditional werewolf lore.
Chris has got something, I think.
Yeah. It's just why do we link the father of man beast with the?
He's French pressing it.
So why is the full moon linked with werewolves in the first place in the real world?
Because people go crazy in full moon.
Well, that and also because of the cliche of wolves howling at the moon.
Yes,
which is what people used to speculate they were doing instead of howling at each other, which is what they're actually doing.
Yep.
Is that why the Mara is considered a wolf in the totemic pantheon? Because a 28-day cycle, womanhood, that kind of thing.
That gives new definition to blood moon.
Well,
aren't you so glad I made it? Anyway.
Well, once again, the Elder Scrolls Sausage Cast comes to
just
does what it always does.
It's like, hi everyone, I'm here to drop like a tiny little bit of knowledge, ask a question, make a terrible joke, peace.
Yeah,
my job is done, and if you have someone arrives late on your bingo card, I hope you got bingo because of that. But,
we've already got a bingo actually.
Yeah, we got two.
Nice.
2 bingos.
But on a more serious note, in terms of why there's like that connection between Mara the wolf and why the wolf full moon Secunda in terms of in-universe reasons, I think maybe some of that has to do potentially, if someone who knows more about Khajiit lore can do this, potentially it has to do with the lunar lattice and the rules that govern the moon.
Yeah. See, I kind of get it. I kind of get where you're going with this, because whenever I consider the phases of the moon in Elder Scrolls, I can't divorce the lunar lattice from that. You know,
right?
Yeah.
And which again could be my fault. But it's very hard for me to not look at an association with the moon and not think two things, obviously, lunar lattice and Lorkhan. But again, that's my fault. That's me limiting myself to one or a very small number of cultural views in the Elder Scrolls universe. There's a huge error. So let's consider Hircine, Blood Moon, the expansion, the Nords and Moons, and work with them all together. The Nords, the Skaal, don't implicitly, in my recollection, mention anything about Lorkhan and the Moons together. But we may or may not have a fragment of a Nordic or possibly Skaal creation myth which might mention it. So it's not to say that they don't have an association, it's just that we don't know what it is.
I think that's fair.
Are we ignoring the lunar Lorkhan?
Is that Nordic?
I don't know that it's Nordic, but it is a connection between.
Well,
Lorkhan and
no,
we
don't know.
No. Yeah,
Well,
so I'm not saying that there's no connection between Lorkhan and the Moons. I'm just saying that different cultures make different connections, right?
Yes.
I was reading stuff about werewolves and full moons, so I was like half listening.
No, but that's okay. You and everybody else. Nobody listens to me.
On a side note about werewolves, I have something about Ireland, but please continue, Chris.
About
werewolves in Ireland and how they're kind of like different from how most people tend to view werewolves.
Really? How so?
Okay,
I'll try to remember where I was headed with that thing, but go ahead.
Werewolves in Ireland were often seen more as like a benevolent force or spirit, and they also ate fish, apparently. Some did, not all, but some did. They're like, this, I'm a werewolf, I eat fish, and I like eat the bad people.
I like sushi, little Asian
sushi and bad people.
Yeah.
As you do. It's a good diet.
Yeah, they weren't seen as like, like it was a curse, but it wasn't seen as like an entirely bad thing to be a werewolf in Irish mythology.
The pitchforks kind of bad thing.
Yeah. It actually learning a bit more about like ancient Irish culture and the concept of like a curse or a geas is actually pretty interesting. That will probably be more relevant in like a future one, but it's interesting in how it's like, okay, it's a thing, but it's not unlivable. If anyone here has watched Adventure Time, it's akin to Finn's grass sword, where it's like, oh, I mean, yeah, this counts as a curse, and it's kind of weird, but also like kind of cool. I can live with this.
Yeah.
That's
not a bad thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It is a curse. It's an inconvenience, but it's not like evil must break the spell.
Yeah.
If that kind of makes sense.
Well, what I was going to say was that, and that is really interesting, and I need to read more about Irish mythology, but that's a big blind spot of mine. But in the case of if we do it, so let's just hypothesize that Hircine's association with the hold on, let me mute.
Oh.
Okay, just thought my dog was going to go crazy. If we speculate that Hircine's association with the moon in Blood Moon is, well, no, but Hircine was already associated with the moon before Blood Moon. I was trying to figure out is if there's a Skald connection with
a Skald connection with Lorkhan and the moons and like a time of great trial and change
and phases and the and the coming and going of lycanthropy and that kind of stuff.
So I'm guessing you guys already talked about the reasons why Hircine has the blood moon and makes it happen just for periods on Tamriel of haha, it's a blood moon, werewolf time.
We didn't
periods.
We didn't have his motivation behind it. I don't know if we find out why he does it, what his reasoning is. Apart from a recruitment drive, which is kind of
it's a recruitment drive, and if memory serves me correctly from the Blood Moon expansion, it's about testing the will of mortals, which is why he gives you 3 different choices to face to sort of test perhaps something that you might be lacking or something that you feel you're strong against. So there's like strength, guile, and I forget the third one, and you get different items for each one depending on which one you chose. So I think
always go guile because you get the spirit of the hunter that way.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering if maybe the purpose behind that is Hircine. Maybe it's Hircine kind of doing what amounts to a really grotesque and fucked up census of Tamriel. Just finding out, okay, who's capable of making change? Who's worthy of being a hero or a hunter or being the big bad that makes the change in the world and brings forth a new era, a new empire.
Right. So I'll create a really awful situation and then see who shows up.
Yeah.
Like I said, really awful, fucked up census. Like maybe that's his jam.
Thinning the herd.
Kind of like when I need to count how many villagers I've got in Minecraft, and so I make an alternate save and kill them all and keep count.
Well, they look all alike, so you can't get them. You gotta make sure that you're not getting them confused. I mean,
there's this really great thing called trap them in their homes and then count the buildings.
Oh yeah, it's easier said than done.
Because it's totally easy. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's literally a block of sand or dirt or whatever you have on hand, including like a fence post or something. Just put it in their front porch. They can't go anywhere. You don't need to kill.
It's less fun that way.
Yeah.
See, that's what it really is. It's not about efficiency. It's you're just a violent murderer.
Sure.
Yeah. But no, the
even dwarves can attack.
He reloads when he's done.
Yeah.
God.
The idea of thinning the herd and that sort of thing just fits really nicely. But I also just found out in a quick skim through, just as a total aside, we were talking about Hircine's face. He apparently wears the head of Y'ffre's champion as a trophy. He killed the Grot elk. According to the Khajiit, he slew Y'ffre's champion, and wears the head of the elk as a trophy to say, basically to just because Nirni chose Y'ffre as her mate rather than Hircine, he killed Y'ffre's champion, and is just showing
then
it
the
off.
Bosmer don't like Hircine then, because like, you killed Y'ffre's champion. No.
Yeah, or at least that's the Khajiit take. I don't know whether the Bosmer have an analogous sort of myth. It would kind of make sense, I suppose, if they did, but I've not seen anything particularly to suggest that. I want to kind of. Oh, it also suggests Hircine is fond of Nirni's children, so and walks among them often. So it's just again, it's that Daedric fascination with mortals is why he gets quite so involved. Again, with that whole testing of what is the best, who are the best mortals, and that sort of thing. But
I just like, okay, that's good, but I also just recently, and I'm terribly sorry about this. I apologize in advance for what I'm about to say. But
oh boy,
it's got
I just realized that this means that in the Dawn era, when Y'ffre laid down like the foundations of, hey, here's how the natural world is going to be governed, this means that Hircine pretty much did the equivalent of, well, fine, I'm going to start my own realm with blackjack and hookers, werewolves, and it'll be fun.
Yeah.
And that's basically kind of what he did.
Yeah.
Well, we're approaching 2 hours now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
let's call it before people start writing.
Again, I apologize.
Well, you could show up late, but don't show up late with interesting things to say. What the fuck?
I want to throw
Sorry, I would have brought those up earlier if I could have made it here on time, but it couldn't.
I want to throw an empty soda can at your head.
Yeah.
Why are we friends?
I know.
Because I'm great. What do you mean?
And
I'm a fucking pleasure.
So, hey.
No comment.
I think, guess what we're going to do next, guys?
Is it
Not fucking Jiggalag, I'll tell you that for free.
Not Jiggalag.
Malachi next.
Yeah, Malakath is next.
I know because I looked it up.
Yeah. And I'm literally looking at a list, and it puts
so I can have all
Malakath.
the terrible Jiggalag jokes.
No, we're doing Jiggalag with Shieldgrath.
Yeah, because there's just not enough for Jiggalag, dude. It's just not.
Yeah. Jiggalag sandwich.
Can I show
with
you
a
my
side-
list of terrible Jiggalag fan fiction and jokes? I think we can make it.
No,
No.
you may not. I don't want to see your fucking fan
No.
fiction. Nobody wants to see your fan fiction.
Put that away.
Jesus
It was
Christ.
big and shiny and gray.
Ooh.
So I have
It's so
2
angular.
more things about Hircine and I'll be done.
The Knight of Order
awesome.
blush.
Oh, awesome.
Okay, so
back on track.
so
Yes.
Hircine Summoning Day is the 5th of mid-year, and if you correlate
That's
that,
the 5th of June?
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh.
and if you correlate that, yeah, so 5th of June, so that's my little woohoo to fame because I was born on Hircine Summoning Day,
Hey!
All right. Awesome. That's really cool.
and yeah,
June 5th was a Friday this
and it
year.
actually makes a lot of sense because Hircine is probably the only Daedric Prince that I really recognize with
Hang
and
on.
relate to.
Mm-hmm.
That's.
Yeah, good. Good stuff.
I'm
Yeah.
just trying to think. With that date.
And before I got into Clavic Vile lore, I
Hmm.
was actually huge into Hircine.
Oh, okay.
Cool. Just trying to think. Just
June
thinking for
5th.
that date. When do hunting seasons generally start? I think if you. I'm just
There
trying
are
to think.
several.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
like, I don't know how it is in Britain, but here in Canada, the way it works is there are lotteries that you can enter for certain animals. So if I wanted to, say, hunt antlerless deer, moose, elk, I would, or like bear and stuff, I'd need to put my name into a lottery and hopefully get a license for X number of tags. I
Right.
would then have to put on an animal.
In 1956, Elvis Presley introduced his new single Hound Dog on June 5th.
That's it. That's the explanation.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
Mystery solved.
Yeah.
But to continue answering your question, Jason,
Yeah.
I don't know how it is in Britain, but generally speaking, with very rare exceptions, or unless you're a native and hunting on traditional like reserve land or treaty land,
Yep.
you don't hunt because that's the time that all the new life is happening. They still need their mothers. So hunting season is usually more like we're starting to get into it now, or in
Yeah.
autumn and early
Yeah.
winter is when you're
Yes,
allowed to
that's it's similar. I can't remember dates because again it'll vary for depending on what animal. But I was just wondering if there was any kind of correlation between Hircine's summoning day and the start of hunting season in Tamriel.
Right.
That was my thought. But if we're assuming Earth-like seasons
might be.
for convenience, we probably should. Then it's probably too early.
Well,
My last, well, I'll wait for Andrew to get back. But my last
No,
one.
I'm still here.
Okay.
Preparing my
so just
dog
for-
for...
So just for fun, what's everyone's favorite strain of lycanthropy?
Oh, weresharks. Are you kidding?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially
man.
ones that are afraid of water, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Weresharks. Obviously. Got to be weresharks. Yeah.
Are weird crocodiles actually a thing, or where did that come from?
Yeah, I think they're a rumor in ESO, but I don't think you ever actually meet any. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
they're supposed
okay.
to be in Black Marsh.
Yeah. Okay.
I made this up just now, but where beavers?
Felix, what's yours?
I mean, it's hard to go wrong with the classic werewolf, but I also like the idea of werebears.
Werebears? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We haven't really gotten a good werebear yet, have we?
I wonder if they.
I mean, they did make an appearance in.
They're in Dragonborn on Solstheim.
Train Wiz's Werescrib. That's it. That's a good one. Yeah.
Oh,
For me, I gotta go with the Werlion.
The Werelion. Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where do you find those?
Elsewhere.
That's just a Centra, bro.
Yeah, probably. Well, yeah. So we will be back with Malakath in 2 weeks.
Yes.
There's a lot to discuss with Malakath. Some good orc lore, and after Malakath, it's going to be Mehrunes Dagon, which I'm sure we can't find anything to talk about. Mehrunes Dagon.
No, definitely not. But in terms of Malakath, we get to actually explore a lot of interesting conspiracy theories.
Yes.
Can we get Merlin?
Ebon Arm, Maluk. My craziest fuck theory about him / Trinimac. Like we can have some fun with
Malakath.
Can we get Merlin for that one?
I'll see what I can do. I don't know if he's still into. I don't know if he's still working. Is he still in the? Is still in the scene?
I don't know.
He doesn't post in Tesla anymore, but
no. I'll see.
We'll see if we can.
Yeah. All right. Okay, folks.
Cool.
Everybody wave.
Bye.
Hi, bye.
bye.
Bye.